I need somebody help, not just anybody help. You know I need someone help.
Welcome back to this already the final segment of today's Price of Business. I am your host, Kevin Price, talking to you about you and your business. Today's show brought to you in part by great people that make a huge difference to our program. And I want to give a shout-out to Efficient Wealth Management and Cornerstone Recovery. Plus, got to mention a new article by Julie Braun, Pure, Simple, and Unequaled Zuda Organics Innovative Approach to Coconut Oil. One of the great things you'll find over there at priceofbusiness.com. And also a great part of making the show happening is my friend Chris Kidd. He's with chriskidd.com, KIDD.com. And we were lucky to keep him for a third segment. Good to have you stay, my friend.
Yeah, I always like hanging out here.
Yeah, well, we got security cards, so we're in good shape. Talk a little bit about, we were talking before, and you don't have an opinion yet, but I hope you spend some time learning more about Acorn. I've been very interested in this app where it kind of gives built-in discipline for saving, and I'm one of those type who can use that built-in, discipline for saving. But talk a little bit about some of the disciplines you use to help make sure that you're saving money and putting money aside. What are some of the principles?
Well, one kind of a standard is saving 10% of everything that you make. In fact, in my book Defeating Debt, I actually go a little bit above that and talk about saving 20%. And that's usually kind of blows people's mind because they can't fathom how to save 20%. But that really comes from the story of Joseph in the Bible when he was, like the second in command over Egypt when he was interpreting the dreams and stuff. And the Pharaoh had asked him, what does this mean with, all the stuff that was going on in his dreams? And he said, well, this means that you're going to have 7 great years and then you're going to have 7 years of famine. It's going to be really bad. But if you do this, then you'll be able to make it through the hard times. So we have peaks and valleys. We have good times and bad times in our with our finances. So in the good years, if you'll set it, and basically what Joseph did in that particular story, he said set aside 1/5 of everything and store that up for the rough times. So that's 1/5 is 20%. So if you're saving, putting 20% aside when you're having like really good times, like we just had O'Donnell Foyle on earlier, and former NBA player, and guys like that. I mean, if you're making, let's say, millions of dollars, and eventually that's going to come to an end, if you start saving that money, at least 20% at that point, once your playing days are over and the really big paychecks are done. Unless you get into something really big, afterwards, which sometimes they do, but other times, it doesn't quite work out. But if you've managed to do that, then you got something to fall back on, and so that's why I recommend doing that. I don't know.
Yeah,
that was kind of a long answer.
That was a long answer, but it was an important answer because it's interesting to hear that. But 10% obviously is huge. If people save 10%, the vast majority of Americans aren't even doing that. And I guess part of that strategy is you make that the very first bill you pay. Whenever money comes in. And if you're a business owner, I guess if you believe in actually saving 20%, if you're going to do 10%, do 10% of the gross rather than 10% of the net, which is what business owners often do, is only the net.
Yeah, it's always easier to adjust up, at least for me, and I've found that to be pretty much with everybody else that I've ever talked with. It's a lot easier to make more money than it is less. And it's a lot easier to end up with less expenses than you were originally planning. So I always say overestimate your expenses and underestimate your income.
Yeah, absolutely. Talk a little bit about some of the disciplines that you put in. What if someone has a hard time simply putting that money aside? What are some of your advice for them?
Well, a lot of times that is a matter of like getting out of debt and getting unnecessary stuff that is eating all their money, getting rid of that, and then being able to set some aside. And if it's, a lot of it is just habits. So I've got one client that I'm working with, and I just told him, I want you to start saving. I don't care if it's $20 a month or even $5. I want you to put something in this other account that you're not touching every single month. I don't care what the amount is, just do it. Like Warren Buffett has actually talked about that, and he said the habit is more important than the amount. It's not so much the amount, because you can, once you get in the habit, you can increase that. So, really, yeah. I just want them to create the habit. And sometimes you can have like an automatic type deal, kind of the Acorn thing that we were talking about, the automatic savings. There's some banks that will round up the change. One thing that I used to do, actually I still do, when I have, if I go out and give somebody $10 cash and then I get, change back or whatever, I'll put the change in a change jar and I'll just let that fill up, and then, we'll go, do whatever with it, save it or give it to the kids or something.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. What kind of accounts might help an individual think twice about taking money out of that account? Do you like CDs, for example, just where, there's penalties for people taking that money out early, and giving them that time to, give us some thoughts in that area.
I'm really not a fan of CDs because the interest is so low, but they are that's one way of doing that. There's ways of putting that account. I like to have it in a separate account, a totally separate bank account, because if you have, let's say you're banking with Chase Bank, and then all of your money's all tied in there. Well, why not open up a new account with a Wells Fargo or with a Capital One or IBC or some other local bank or something, but have that money that you're saving in a totally separate location, and just don't ever go touch it. Have a goal that you want to get it to, and you're not going to touch it until then.
Yep, very good stuff. I want to encourage people to learn more about Chris Kidd at chriskidd.com. Real quickly, the event coming on Halloween.
Well, actually, October 30th. It's a Friday night, and we are having an amazing party at Minute Maid Park. It's going to be in the Diamond Club. Also have the options to get out on the field. So it's going to be a really awesome event. Basically, what we do is we plan these big events that are really awesome parties. People have a ton of fun, but it's for a really good cause. It's, we know that something's going to happen. We can't identify who we're helping while we're planning, but about a week, within 10 days from our event or less, sometimes a day before, a major tragedy will happen to somebody in our local area, and we find families who have had devastating stuff happen. They have no other means of support. They aren't getting help or assistance from anywhere else, and they're basically just in a mess, and they don't know how they're going to make it. And we come in, we have these parties, we raise all this money overnight, and every penny that is donated from ticket sales and whatnot, that's how we get our money. Every penny that's donated goes out in 24 hours from our event to all these, the families that we're able to help, as far as, cover funeral expenses, cover groceries, take care of, replace stuff that was lost and stuff like that. To find out more about that, go to fanaticalchange.org, and that's fanaticalchange.org for the Fanatical Change Foundation. It's Superhero Halloween at Minute Maid Park. It's going to be amazing.
Very good. All right, you got it. chriskidd.com, KIDD.com. I'm Kevin Price. The best content here shows up over there at usdailyreview.com. While there, like it on Facebook, follow on Twitter. Have a great day and spend it wisely right here. And a great weekend, by the way, and spend it wisely on this station.